Have you ever wondered why humans took so long to grow up? I know I have. How come it takes us 18 to 25 years to be considered fully developed? How come our closest relative, the chimpanzee, takes only 10 to 15 years to develop, and most other species significantly shorter than that? What causes us to be so far behind in the maturation race?
It turns out there's a couple of reasons. The first and most general is that there are actually two different types of species, R-selected and K-selected. A couple of the traits of these R and K-selected species are central when it comes to the rate of development. An R-selected species matures early and doesn't require as much parental care. They're your genetic latchkey children, but they like it that way. They learn early to find their own food and take care of themselves. They are species such as insects and rodents, creatures with high numbers of offspring and frequent heat cycles. K-selected species are exactly the opposite. They take longer to mature and require steady parental care. Sound familiar? This is one of the reasons for human slow development. However, humans still take more than twice the time to mature than most K-selected species. Why is this?
To begin to answer this question, we need to understand more about the human brain. The human species possesses a bigger and more complex brain than any other mammal or primate. Although there is not a widely accepted theory that explains this fact, there is a hypothesis that often referred to when we're trying to understand the matter. This is called the expensive tissue hypothesis, first proposed by anthropologists Leslie Elio and Peter Wheeler. It shares the idea that as our ancestors began to eat more meat, they took in enough calories at each meal to permit their guts to shrink, saving energy from digestion that in turn helped fuel the brain. These experts observed that this seemed to be the pattern in certain primates. Species with high-quality diets tended to have bigger brains, while species that had to spend more energy digesting low-quality foods tended to have smaller brains. In another complementary experiment, scientists found that much of the necessary brain development happens during childhood. Therefore, a lot of energy is used to feed the brain, rather than to grow and develop the rest of the body. The researchers led by Dr. Christopher Cuazza, an anthropologist at Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois, used PET and MRI brain scan data, which measures glucose uptake and brain volume, respectively, to discover that the ages at which the brain gobbles the most resources are also the ages when the body growth is the slowest. At 4 years old, when this brain spike is at its peak and body growth and weight gain slow to their minimum, the brain burns through resources at a rate equivalent to 66% of what the entire body uses at rest. This strongly suggests that the brain's high energy needs during childhood are compensated for by slower growth. Dr. Cuazza's own words, "As humans, we have so much to learn, and that learning requires a complex and energy-hungry brain."
So this answers why and kind of how humans take longer to develop. But it begs the question, why would something evolve this way? Or why does it increase evolutionary fitness? Relatively little has been published to answer this question, but in 1997, Dr. Bogan of the University of Michigan Dearborn did research regarding childhood in human evolution. Dr. Bogan defined childhood as the period of time after weaning, but before they are able to obtain for themselves adult food required for a proper diet, causing them to remain dependent on older individuals, which is something found almost exclusively in humans. At the end of his article, Dr. Bogan provides 5 main reasons why childhood, as he defined it, would evolve in a species. First, childhood is a feeding and reproductive adaptation. It may have developed to allow adult individuals a way to provide their dependent offspring with food without nursing. This allows mothers to focus on the next child, increasing reproductive fitness because they can have more offspring in less time. Second, the proportional rate of growth of body features in children elicits care from older individuals. Basically, children look cute, so grown-ups want to take care of them. Third, children are relatively inexpensive to feed. This means there is less competition for food sources with a child than with someone who is older. Fourth, during childhood, babysitting is possible. Any individual, young or old, can care for a child, whereas only the mother can care for an infant. This allows, if necessary, reproductive members of society to focus on reproducing. And finally, childhood allows for developmental plasticity. Plasticity is the potential for change in the phenotype in an individual caused by changes in the environment.
So what's the big picture? Are there advantages of this slow progression? The answer is yes, there are. Due to our slow development or maturation, we are able to develop greater cognitive abilities and to establish concrete operations. Basically, because we give our brains longer to set up, we can better communicate as well as act and react to our surroundings. This correlates directly to the survival of the fittest. Through our enhanced mental capabilities or sentience, humanity is able to survive and to raise more of their offspring safely to adulthood than any other species. Humans are also capable of approximately 2 more decades of life compared to other animals due to this slow maturation. So, if this sets us on top of the food chain, are there any disadvantages? Is there anything unfortunate about being a K-selected species with a superpowered brain? Probably the biggest disadvantage of the long maturation is that it provides us with a very small, healthy reproductive window proportionate to our lifespan, and compared to other species. Also, humans typically limit their offsprings to 1 at a time, whereas other animals can pop out many babies at once. While there are a few times women have given birth to more, from twins to octuplets, this is the exception rather than the norm.
So, do the advantages outweigh the disadvantages? Overall, yes, definitely. We can relatively safely pass our seed along to future generations unhindered, develop mental capabilities that far exceed other animals, and continue progressing and becoming better, long after our physical bodies begin declining. In conclusion, we should be grateful for those 18 years of awkward interaction and change. Without them, there's no way we would be here today. Quirky, incredible, variable geniuses.